Where last we left off, we set up embers. We managed to travel all the way down the quest tree to get Moosefalloy ingots. But now this is just one of many items that we're going to need to get to the next realm. While I was setting this up, I encountered a major problem. Traveling back and forth between realms. And as easy as it is to simply use something like the Energized Heartstone to go back and forth, it still takes quite a bit of extra time to do this. And I would love to just be able to access my storage from anywhere. And so that's the first problem we're solving today. Now, my goal is ultimately to take our lectern, which houses all of our non-EMCable items, and I want to be able to gain access to everything that is inside of all of my containers, and which I've just recently upgraded to netherite versions, by the way. The way I plan on doing this, though, is going to involve a mod called Integrated Dynamics and Integrated Tunnels and Terminals. To fully get started with this, we do need to break down some of the Integrated Dynamics trees, which we get from the mineral sapling. Now, with these logs, well, we can sort of semi-automate the production of mineral, which we're going to need quite a bit of, and you do get some from actually breaking down the tree, but we get significantly more if we make the block form of it. So we'll place down the squeezer, and then I'm also going to have a drying basin that's going to lead into the back. And you can see the funnel here is going to lead this into the drying basin. The reason I raised this up is so that we can place a hopper down here and also maybe place a hopper in on this side, for example, for sending items into the squeezer. That's because I'm going to semi-automate this. And this is a pretty interesting mechanic. Typically, you need to give this a redstone signal. So something like this. We'd basically place the log in, and then we would jump on this, and we would just jump, and eventually we would squeeze it down. And then the way you would get this to pop back up is by giving it a redstone signal, as you can see right there. But that's super manual and can be kind of janky also if you're on a server. So a way that we can actually automate this is by using some armor stands. So we can instead have armor stands be thrown up in the air, and then if we have two armor stands, it'll be heavy enough for this to actually squeeze. So I'll place another armor stand right here, for example, and just drop that directly on top. And now we have two armor stands. And when these guys get shot up, it is enough for it to fully collapse and bring this back down. And then to get this automated, we can use something like an RFTools timer to just simply pulse it. We don't need to configure it. We can just leave it set to this current delay. And that right there is automated. And now we just toss in the logs and we just sort of wait until it generates enough blocks for us to actually make the mechanical versions. So this didn't take very long at all, but I now have myself a mechanical squeezer and drying basin, which is going to make this process even faster, but these do need power. But with this, I should be able to just toss it over here to my machine pile that I have going as of right now until we get some nice wireless power. So we now have our mechanical squeezer and our drying basin, and they're right next to each other, and I can set this to auto eject, which should not send anything in here because there's fluids in here, but should send it directly into our drying basin. Our mechanical squeezer and drying basin ready, this opens up access to the portable storage terminal. But to be able to link something like this portable storage terminal, we need an omnidirectional to allow us to have that cross-dimensional access. And to get the cross-dimensional access and the omnidirectional, we need a logic director. And this requires crystallized chorus chunks. Now, if you look at the recipe, you may be like, well, I don't have a lot of chorus. Well, it doesn't actually show you that you can use proto-chorus. Proto-chorus can just be crafted with mineral berries. And in doing this, we can also break this down and we get just a little bit less. But we really don't need all that much. We just need a little bit of this stuff. So I'll just grab several proto-chorus here, about 16 of those. I think that is going to be just fine. And just simply toss it in here and just let it build up. It is a small chance, but we only need a few of these. Now, making the actual storage terminal, we are going to need mineral glass, and a way we can do that is by placing in some glass into the drying basin itself, and then just placing in some logs. And so this will eventually send the mineral over, and it will add it to the glass, giving us mineral glass, just like so. The glass of illumination. With our storage terminal in hand, we almost have enough. Now we just need to add 2 pieces of crystallized mineral on the side, and we have a portable storage terminal, and we almost have everything ready to go. The only thing we need to make is the omnidirectional, which is going to require the monodirectionals that are going to be next to it. And now we have a singular omnidirectional. So the way that this works with integrated dynamics So we just need to hook up a single connector up to this thing. And we can still utilize our regular lectern, but I'm going to place in an item interface onto the back, a regular cable, and then an omnidirectional on top of this. Now that that's done, well, I should just be able to click the portable storage onto the omnidirectional, and now I should be able to see all of the contents, everything that is inside of my storage lectern, or everything that my storage lectern can see, that is. And by the way, there's a lot of configuration that we can do here, and we can even craft items directly from this, which is fantastic. I like to go with a more smaller, compact grid size. Something like this is always very, very nice and pleasing to the eye. Some other things I like to do is I like this to typically be sorted by amount. So yes, we'll usually have item amount, and then we will sort by, there we go, sort by descending. So we have the most amount of items shown first. And then you can click this little button down here, and this is going to mark any other terminal if we were to ever use one. It's going to mark this as the default from this point forward. And just like that, cross-dimensional storage is basically solved for now. Another cool thing is you can just put this inside of your body slots and then just use a keybind. And so I set mine to Control E, and I can now open this anywhere I'm at. Now, another thing to make sure of is that your area is chunk loaded, that your storage is in. So to do this, of course, you just want to go into your FTB maps, claim your area by normal by holding down left click and then holding down shift and reclaiming this. And this is going to force chunk load at least your primary storage's location, which is definitely going to be necessary. And now we can travel to somewhere like Muspelheim, for example, and I can still access all of my items and storage and craft from it as if I was there. This is just a very nice thing to have before we fully dive into our applied energetics system, as I'd like to have like somewhere that is going to be like a determined spot before setting that up, because moving an AE system is just not fun. With this all done, I think it's now time for us to dive a little bit into nature's aura. But I think this is going to require us to sort of set up a little bit of a temporary base in Niflheim. So what I want to do is I want to craft up a mage's spellbook. I want to upgrade our current spellbook into the next tier. And the reason why I want to do this is so that way we can craft some other higher tier spells. To make the better spells, a scribe table is definitely going to be necessary. And placing this near our storage lectern works super, super well. That's because we can click this onto it and we can start to define certain spells. For example, Conjure Mage Light would be a really good one to have. And it's going to automatically pull the items directly out of here, and it's going to inscribe them. This will give us a light source that we can place down anywhere, and we can decorate it how we want. Another awesome tier 2 spell is going to be Extract, requiring just a single emerald, giving us the ability to silk touch things, even though we don't have access to a break spell. Another good spell to get is definitely Amplify, which is going to use just a regular diamond pickaxe. If we have one in the storage, looks like we do. Another awesome one to get would be Smelt, but I don't currently have a blaze rod just yet. But this one is a really good one to get. And one other thing we should set up, go ahead and get the enchanting apparatus set up from Ars Nouveau. And so this can just be layered around. It doesn't really matter, just so long as it's within range. And we are going to make ourselves a jar of light. So this is going to be some glowstone added to some pedestals and redstone lamps. And then finally, a jar in the center. And then once all of this is put together, we'll get ourselves another little interesting artifact that can kind of just light our path for us, which is going to be pretty neat. And there we go. We now have a jar of light. And I believe this can be turned on and off. So it does have an on state and an off state, I believe, in which you can kind of see when it's on, it is a bit brighter and the item actually lights up. And what it does is it places mage lights around where you are. And so long as you're there, the mage lights will get placed, which is kind of a nifty little thing. Always kind of keeping the area you're walking lit up. Also, by the way, we do get a few random glyphs from completing some of these things, which will be kind of nice to get a hold of, depending on what random glyphs it gives us, and even more magic skill points. So let's see if we get lucky. We got Glyph of Spike, Accelerate and Decelerate, not too bad. Toss, filtered undead, another filtered, and more filtered stuff. So nothing amazing, but definitely free, and I'll take it. Now, another tool that I want to make is going to be a drill from actually subtractions or additions. If you shift right click the drill, you get access to some upgrade slots, and one of the particular upgrades I'm looking for is a silk touch augment. And so with this augment right here, I can place it inside, and now we should have silk touch. And so I can toss it inside of the workbench here to give a nice little charge to it. And this will give us access to a pretty easy to get silk touch, even though we could definitely get silk touch from something like the enchanter and put it on a pickaxe. This is just something I can also swap the tool out and make it not have silk touch, for example. By the way, there are also several other upgrades that you can get, but I am just primarily concerned with being able to break a single piece of grass, collect it, and now I have unlimited grass. Ah, so nice. And we are going to need this unlimited grass today. Now, back in Muspelheim, the reason I am here is because most of the things that are going to be required of us within Nature's Aura is going to be done or required to be done in this dimension. But I have a cool idea. There are some structures that are just sort of just out and about on the map. For example, these right here. I think it would definitely shed some light to the area if I was to maybe take that and maybe move it over here. So I really like the idea of using this top section of this overhang, which looks absolutely amazing, by the way. This building right here just has so many beautiful structures. And one, for example, is like this one right here. I could just take this small little structure and we could definitely utilize this. To do this, I need to be in cut mode, and I've just got to find like the corner and place down a block, I think on the bottom corner that I want to use. So for example, this corner, which is going to be fine. And I want to reach this all the way out until we've met the exact side. And same for the other side. And then while we're in cut mode, I can just simply right click here. Oh boy, I'm being attacked by that thing. Oh no. And we can click shift right click here to select the bounds. Beautiful. Go into our settings. And I'm just going to raise this up until it has encapsulated the entire thing. And then we can just simply cut. And I believe this is cutting the entire thing out of the world. Yes. And this should allow us to paste it in anywhere we want. Also, there appears to be a chest. Huh. Full of tons of diamonds. That guy is throwing things at me. He is definitely not happy with me taking that. Now back to where I wanted to set this up. Let's go ahead and raise this up one. And now I can just simply right click and it should paste it in, I believe. Yeah, there it goes. Just takes it a moment and the whole thing is just showing back up. This is so cool. Everything's getting all lit up, and now we've got to just simply convert the whole thing so that way it sort of works. Oh, hey, look, there's a sponge in here. I think this is going to work out wonderfully because we can place our grass in now and fill this whole thing in, which is what's going to allow us to get started with Nature's Aura. Now into the brilliant fibers. I'll need some way to bind Soother Spirit to Muspelheim with the power of nature, and start by creating a magical gold inlay plant fiber that can convert tree leaves. If I apply this brilliant fiber to the tree leaves, they should slowly turn golden over time, also converting other nearby leaves. Once the leaves are converted, I can break them for their golden leaves. So one of the first things I need to do is make brilliant fiber, which is going to require leaves, gold, and also some grass. So we can definitely get grass down and we can pick it all up, and then we should be able to make more of this. And we also need to grow a sapling and shear that. And now I have myself some fibers. And so it's time to grow another tree, just like this. And now the fibers we can place on to slowly infect the tree. Leaves, I believe, are now fully converted, or at least this one is, because I can see particles glowing out of it. And if I break it, I get the gold leaf I need. With this discovery, it leads us into the ritual of the forest. You can invoke the power of nature by drawing a simple golden dust circle around a sapling. This circle must be surrounded by 8 wooden stands, which items can be placed upon to complete the ritual. And so I'm going to need some stands to ultimately make a totem of joy. Now we can use the Nature's Aura book here to be able to define the exact ritual space, which honestly fits in this circle so well. This does make it a whole lot easier to see, so we know exactly where to place everything. Also, the golden powder, well, it just gets outlined like so around a sapling, but we don't want to put the sapling in just yet. Another item it's going to require is bottled sunlight, which I believe we can just simply click on the ground to get? No, that's right. We do need a special bottle for this, which does require a gold leaf, which is going to allow us to capture the air, just like that. With all 6 of these items required, we just need to place them down onto the pedestal, in no particular order, by the way. With all of them laying on there, our final step is to just grow the tree. And once this happens, the ritual takes off. It is such a cool thing to watch happen, by the way. And there we go. We now have the token of joy. Now that I have the token, I decided to go ahead and expand. I am going to need an area for an altar, and then I'm also going to need another area for a much larger ritual. And in order for me to do this ritual, we are going to need a rather large space of grass. And so I think what I'm going to do for now is just convert all of this intersection into grass until I figure out exactly how much grass area I'm going to need. The reason I needed this space is for the natural altar infusion. Now I can begin drawing in the power of nature and use it to create new items. And this is why I built this section in the Niflheim, and that's because of that specific thing right here where it says the natural altar will only gather aura in dimensions where bottled sunlight can be collected. And Niflheim happens to be that dimension. With all the items laid in again, I can grow the tree and create the ritual once more. Still such a cool ritual. We've been playing with a lot of really cool magic mods throughout this playthrough, and man, it is very, very cool. Like, magic mods do the visual things really well, in my opinion. This should grant me an altar that we're going to have to build a structure around, technically. And there we go. Empowered. Now this altar has the ability to convert several blocks, and there's also some catalysts, if you're familiar with Britannia, where it kind of works similar to that, where you can basically place different types of catalysts underneath it, and it can do certain tasks. But the main thing we really need right now is just simply converting like iron into infused and gold into tainted. Now the guide me shows me a pretty good way of doing this, but if we have the actual Nature's Aura book in our inventory, we can hold control and we can bring up this page right here, which is going to show us specifically how we should build this thing. And let's see, I want this centered right here, and I think I want it raised, you know what, we'll place it into the ground. And so this is what this altar is going to look like. For the most part, the structure is rather simple to put together. You're only going to need like some chiseled stone bricks and some stone bricks, but you are going to need to combine some brilliant fibers up with some of the stone brick to make some caps. So we are going to need those caps right here, 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 and here, and on top of all of these. And that is basically it. To finish the entire thing, we just place in the altar, and that now is ready to go. Oh, that is so cool looking. Then we just place on the iron and we'll let the aura take over. Now there is a aura in our area, so that is something we need to keep in mind, because every time we do the conversion, I believe it does consume aura, but I think for now we just need one of each. There is some negative side effects that can happen when you drain an area of all of its aura, by the way. I played around with this when this mod originally came out, and I remember draining the aura so bad that it caused TNT explosions to start happening in the area of extreme aura loss. Oh, how those are fond memories. Thankfully though, once we make these, we don't have to worry about it too much because they do have EMC values, which is going to save us from destroying our area due to aura, or at least worrying about that. Now, ultimately, I'm working my way all the way to the token of rage, which is what we're going to need. It's another boss item that we're going to have to get access to as we're slowly working our way up through these realm dimensions. But this is going to require the Spirit of Calling. And to be able to make the Spirit of Calling, we also have to get Bottled Ghosts, which does appear we can get it from Muspelheim and the Demon Realm. Back in Muspelheim, I can now collect, yes, Bottled Ghost, spooky, scary skeletons. Very nice. Now, since I'm already in Muspelheim, I might as well do a little bit more exploring. Like, I think, can find a fortress, which would be really nice. Oh, this is an ember structure, by the way, which houses this special crystal. Interesting. And also all of these blocks. There's so many cool blocks that we can find here, by the way. But this is not the structure. I need to find some sort of fortress, I think. And I want to see if we can get access to blazes. I mean, there is this. I know exactly what this structure is. I think. I feel like yes, irons. I believe this is irons. It is irons. This is sick. Irons spells. Yes. And there is a major boss in here too. That is a really cool boss animation. But this might be a good place to actually find a bunch of iron spells loot. Ominous bottles. Yes. This is perfect. Arcane essence. Oh, and we also get ancient debris in here. Very cool. I want to come back and I do want to revisit this area. This is not exactly what I'm looking for, but there is something really cool in here that I want to come back to. Also, by the way, I think you can just find full-on netherite gear in here. That's just netherite armor on armor stands, right? Like, no way. No. Got me. Oh, it's an actual armor stand that's gonna fight me. Oh my goodness, this is great. This is why you know what? I have slowly started falling in love with iron spells. This is such a cool mod. And this is also another structure from irons. And this is why I said in a prior episode that I was kind of worried about these armor piles. And that's because if you do break them, they turn into ancient knights, which are absolutely sick, and we deal so much damage. But yes, this is one way you get cinder essence, which we're going to need later on down the road. And I definitely know this structure. This is from the Cataclysm mod, and this is going to be Ignis. And I'll come back to that later. I'm looking for a fortress. Aha! A short while later, and I have now found a fortress. But do blazes spawn? Yes, blazes do spawn, which should mean that we can get access to our first blaze rod. Oh, that is perfect because we have kind of been gated behind the lack of blaze rods. And now we also have all of this. Yes. I don't think we had nether warts either. Now we do. And we also have skulls. This is good. This is very good. And this is where I said that that jar of light was going to come in handy because it is very dark in here. Effortless building, elastic hand. We also get we can get the books from ours here. Very cool. A firebolt scroll. Huh. I also just found wild and mob drops, which do have EMC. That's so good. And I just got the salamander's eye, which if you hold this in your offhand, which is from reliquary, the blaze fireballs, well, they can't even hit you. Reflecting neck. I didn't even know relics was in here. I'm finding so many cool things. Aha, but the one thing I was looking for, this. Do we have regular blaze spawners? Because if we do, that makes XP farming so much easier. And yes, we do. And they are also apothic spawners, which means we could pick up this spawner and put it anywhere we want. Oh, this is going to be so nice. Yes. Okay. So I've definitely going to mark this location now that I know where it's at. And now we can actually pick up spawners, bring it anywhere we want, build a farm for it, and upgrade this bad boy. And we have ourselves a mighty strong XP farm and also blaze rod farm. I think that was a pretty productive journey. So now after getting all of the stuff deposited, we should definitely get back with our goods. Well, get back to some more magic. Yeah. Natures are a magic. Those ingredients, I can make the Spirit of Calling. And it says I'll need to make an offering to the Spirit of Nature. That leads us to the offering table, which is one of the bigger multi-block crafting stations that we're going to need for this mod. With the Spirit of Calling ready, I can now finally make an offering required to obtain Sulter's Totem of Rage. I must place the offering item in the offering table, then throw the Spirit of Calling down on the ground nearby. Lightning will then strike the offering offering table and consume up to 16 offerings at once, causing the traded items to appear from the sky after a few seconds later. Interesting. So we're going to have to provide this with several of these spirits of calling? Wow. Or maybe that's just telling me it can do up to 16 at once, like 16 recipe calls at once. Yeah, I think that one would make much more sense. So that's what this area right here is going to be for. And I'm probably going to need direct access to the sky, I think. Which means getting rid of all of this stuff. To make the offering table itself, though, I am going to need a couple of other tokens. I need a token of fear, which we should have everything for. And then we also need a token of sorrow, which, yeah, I have everything for. So the first one I'm going to make is the totem of fear. And so that one's going to get all crafted up. There we go. Then to craft up the token of sorrow. Oh, that's a much bigger tree, but it should work the same way. And there we go. All of this now to be combined up to make the offering table. Yo, God. You want this? That's actually really good. This is going to get placed directly in the center of this area. And this is where I need at least a 9x9 block space because we've got to surround this with flowers in a very particular order. And again, the guide me does a pretty good job of actually showing you the way that this looks. So if you hover G over here, you can actually see what it looks like, sort of move this around, which is also really, really handy, and see every individual item that's in it. But also, while you have the book, you can hold down Control and then immediately give yourself a nice little area to highlight, which I think is going to be more than perfect here. This is exactly the way we want to define it, is by placing in poppies everywhere that they exist. So this is going to take me just a moment, I think. And all of this to make an offering to the gods. With the altar set up, there's only one more thing we need to make. The token of anger. And then we'll use this, which I'm pretty excited because I haven't done this in a very long time using this offering table. The last time I had ever used it was to make these ingots of the skies. And I think that was when I was playing a pack called All the Mods 6 so very long ago. So let's just say all of this is quite the nostalgia trip for me. I am going to be very clear there. This has been it's just taking me back. It has been a massive nostalgia trip. And with this, the way this is supposed to work is we place the item that we want to offer to the gods onto the table. And then what we need to do is we need to toss down on or near the actual table. We need to toss down the spirit of calling. And it gets struck by lightning and grants us the token. This is pretty cool. And with this, we could do up to 16 at a time, apparently. But that has now completed or at least one of our tasks that is needed in order for us to summon Suther. With all of the Nature's Aura stuff that we've done thus far, nothing has really set us back as far as our aura level, which is good because we don't have to worry about explosions or anything. But later on, we should get the ability to craft the Rose of Oblivion by simply tossing into the Weeping Well any of the Botania flowers in order to get this. And this rose grants and restores back aura in an area, and it is very powerful. Typically, you only get it after killing a dragon, and it has a chance of spawning in the end. But in this pack, well, we can just make it in the Weeping Well, which is going to be very helpful if we plan on making any of the other specialty items that exist in this mod down the road. And there are a fair few of them. For example, something that can allow us within 64 blocks to kind of see chests that are maybe hidden, to something that lets us light up blocks, to technically having items that allow us to locate different structures within the game, even though in this pack we already have access to all of those things. There's also several different items and blocks in here that allow us to make automation a little bit easier, which is something that we may end up dabbling into down the road, especially like maybe this builder. It all depends on what we have available to us. We'll determine whether or not we actually use anything from this mod, which I think is Nature's Aura's biggest downside. Its competitors. We'll just have to see if there's any other utilities that are going to be worthwhile crafting later on. If anything, we have some really good building blocks here. I think overall today, we were quite successful. We have now completed both sides of this quest, leading us now into completing either or of these and also taking on the Wither to get ourselves a Nether Star. And as of right now, my backpack is filled with the items that are going to be required to take on Suther. But I would call today quite successful. Not only did we get access to wireless storage, we also dabbled a bit into some of this aura magic, and we managed to call out to the gods for help. I think next episode would be a good time to start to also work on increasing our gear, maybe swapping out of some Malum gear and maybe trying out some other mods gears. I think that might be a good idea. We could always use a bit more mana. I know that we have quite a bit already, but I think it would be very helpful, especially if we have to take on the Wither and several other bosses moving forward. And guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you did, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video a huge thumbs up. And with that, it's now time for me to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to Chaos Charity YouTube. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting my content in one of the best ways possible. Thank you so very much. And guys, I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.